This is kind of a weird tool we built, but these tables can be pretty expensive, so
nice.
we kind of just build our own.
Yeah, and that's for dust collection.
Yeah,
this
the dust collection
right here
sucks down through the top.
Yeah.
And all the tools for Keith kind of built them in down there. I think there's a lot of dust brushes down there too.
Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan from Autodesk. This is Shop Talk, the podcast series where we talk with makers, engineers, and designers from shop to shop. Today we're doing something different. We have our first tour of an actual shop where Justin Brouillette from Portland CNC is going to show us how his shop works, how Fusion integrates with everything, all the cool products he's coming up with, and all the other stuff his shop does. Justin's in there waiting for us, so let's get started. Hey man.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you again.
So Justin and I know each other already. I was here a couple weeks ago. Today we have a crew and we want to introduce you to...
Well, I'm Justin Brouillette. I own Portland CNC and I'm gonna give you guys a shop tour.
So show us, start us wherever you want.
Sure. I mean, I guess we'll start at the end of our production and work to the beginning. But so this is like where all of our finished products are. We started out as a job shop doing mostly CNC routing, kind of quirky things, mostly wood products. And over time, I went to design school. So over time, I wanted to get back to the product design stuff. So we make a lot of products for CNC router shops, but CNC mill, all types of CNC shops. And so this is where the products end up before they get shipped out. And we kind of work our way from the back of the shop, where it starts with raw materials, woods, metals, and comes this way, getting produced, laser cutters, 3D printers, the whole gamut, all running on Fusion. That's why you guys are here, right?
Nice.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting progression over time, but product business has been growing a little bit lately, so it's been a nice evolution.
Sure. Yeah, and you've got a social media presence. So YouTube, Instagram, talk a little about that.
I learned a lot from people like John Saunders originally, right? The godfather of YouTube CNC.
Yeah.
And so I just started sharing similarly. There wasn't as much on making things with wood and CNC routers, so I kind of did my version of that. And a lot of that centered around using Fusion and making things with that, designing, using the CAD and the CAM to make different products. It's kind of how I started into all of it in the first place. Was I went to design school, I was making my own furniture, bought a CNC router to make my own furniture, stumbled into being a service provider for people that wanted weird wood products, and now we do the metal, the laser cut, all different things that kind of happen from that. And I still try, but I don't get as much of a chance to make as many videos as I like. I think everybody has that problem anymore. So
people love it. I mean, I've personally talked to plenty of people who kind of got their start from watching your videos,
It's weird to hear.
Yeah. I'm sure it is, because I know you don't think of yourself that way, but you've been on there for quite some time sharing some really cool stuff. And, I've personally been inspired by a lot of the work you do. So
thanks,
I'm excited to see, kind of under the hood and how you came up with all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so you have it's not a very big shop, but you do have a forklift.
I was thinking about that like literally this morning, because our neighbor got something and they don't have a forklift, and I was like, why do we need a forklift again? And I realized, I was like, oh yeah, I remember the reason we got it was Ricky and I were unloading sheets of plywood on the carts in the street, and it was like 90 degrees out, and I was like, we're gonna have a mutiny here if we don't figure this out, because it's like, I mean, each sheet's 80 some pounds, 30 sheets, do it every week, you get real frustrated fast. So we do less of that now, but it's still, I suppose it's paid for, right? So now you just have a forklift that
good thing to have on hand.
Furniture in the garage area.
Yeah. So we got packing over here, looks like.
Yeah, this is shop has evolved for sure. So this is a lot of our products that are finished or ready to ship kind of sit on this weird little rolly cart, and we pack them up here, and we've been kind of just evolving this. It's just changed at the beginning of the year here. So this is most of our finished products. They get packed up. We assemble them the step over, and then they get made as they come this way, as they go out the door, basically. For a couple of our products here, so like this is a dust boot that is an upgrade for CNC routers, and we've gone from the one we have, which was a shop saver with an HSD spindle, to now we do like Laguna versions, and it turns out that not only our machine had dust collection problems, but all of them. So we get a lot of requests for different versions, and we've been trying to find ways to make it more of a dynamic fit, but they all have their own unique ways of either working or not working. But that was the first thing we really made as a product for CNC shops. And
you've made all your whole rack here is also part of that same system, and yeah, I can see how that would be a good product in the future when you're able to.
It's pretty like what we were trying to do is that size that's right there as like a shippable kind of
this one here? Yeah.
Shippable thing that you can put in your house and could go behind your desk or any of those things. And it's still something I want to do. It's just is a lot. And we, didn't have a built-in market for it like we did the CNC stuff.
The closer you look, the more you see these little like bespoke details and these little, I need a place to put my butcher paper, and then
Ricky made that thing kept moving around, and we're like, we need a place for it, and he just made a little dowel. Actually broke one recently and just remade it again.
It's one of the great things about having a CNC machine or like laser cutters or tools like this on hand. You have an idea for something and you can very quickly crank it out and try it instead of waiting for U-line to show up.
It's especially with like 3D printing, right behind you here. We've gone from Prusa that's down below to now we have the bamboos, and like I needed a place to put a marker on the mill, and I just made a little magnetic marker holder in like 30 minutes. It's just, I don't know, being old enough that none of that stuff was very reliable. When I first started designing things, it still blows my mind. I think it took me a solid like 6 months to get used to the idea of like how things can be made while they're being 3D printed. Like it doesn't have to be just the outside. You can do stuff on the inside of the part that's really unique.
Like a pocket for the magnet, for example.
That's perfect, and you don't have to do anything after the fact. It's just ready to go. But yeah, they've been super reliable. We print a lot of PETG, and that it has its own like built-in enclosure really helps stabilize things.
Regulate temperature and so on.
So fast. We've done a lot of weird modifications.
I was about to say this looks like something.
This is crazy. Somebody made this. It's a free download, and you can vent or not vent all the way around, and it's just you print it on the machine itself, right? Like it's like basically. I mean, that's kind of Prusa's thing, right? You could print your own printer, basically. They've been. I would have never guessed. I think I told you this before, that 3D printing would turn into such a big part of how we make products. Like it has such a huge impact on all the things we can make, even in like an industrial sense, like things that are used on CNC machines and survive and work great and improve people's process. It's really shocked me, but fun. It's fun to.
One of your products that you're putting out there in the world is entirely done on a FFF 3D printer, right? This we got a couple of them.
Tool tags that go on it. So this is we call it the tool tag tower, which is just too many T's, but magnets to the side of like your mill, and this is a Cat 40 tool tag that you put your tool information on, and you can put that on the tool itself, and when it goes in the machine, you put it in that position on the tower. And for us, we can go see one on our mill in a second, but really helps for me because I don't remember the tools in the machine. And when you have 20 some, and then somebody else goes to use it, they don't know what's there either because it's an old enough machine. It's not like telling you all the tool information on the control. So it's just something we needed, and it turns out a decent amount of shops also needed something like this. So it's been kind of a fun little thing that you just make for yourself, and those turn into pretty good products, I've found, when you really need something.
For sure, and one of the things you can tell with this product is that the filament you're using has these little flecks in it, and it hides the layers, right? So when, typically when you're talking about a 3D printed product, it's conspicuously 3D printed on a desktop machine. It's kind of not perceived as valuable, but this is a great way to sort of hide that detail, and then you've also got some design elements built in to kind of hide that stuff too. So you're doing fewer fillets, for example, right?
Fillets
talk about some of those
fillets
details.
Are tough to hide. I mean, we've got a whole bin here of prototypes, but kind of found the sweet spot for, where's a fillet, where isn't a fillet, and then the textured beds are a great trick too, because they hide all of the material. So right they're used in this fashion. You don't look at the bottom side as much, where you can see some more of the layer lines. But honestly, that's just been a thing with the bamboos. They kind of like self-regulate, self-improve almost, in a sense, where like I feel like it took a lot of tweaking, and then everything would change with older versions of printers, and they've just been so consistent.
Another thing you're doing here is minimizing support material, right?
Yeah, there's only support on the magnet holes.
Those pockets right there, and this wouldn't need any at all. It looks like that was
kind of a bit of an obsession of mine. I hate the printing of support, because it usually messes up the part. But it's also just interesting too, just thinking about the design process of these, is like, I did it 3D printing because I knew it would turn out pretty well with the labeling, and I could do it quick. And since then, they started selling. I was like, how else can we make these? And I've asked some friends, I can't think of another way that's better, which is weird.
Well, look how complex the geometry is. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would you do?
Are you gonna make it out of metal?
Why spend the money on that, right? We've got the laser. So why did you go with this laser?
Price? I knew some people that had them, and we make like almost all of our packaging. Ordering packaging for your products is expensive, because the runs of them, you need higher quantities.
Exactly, because they do die cutting and all that stuff.
And for me, it was like, this isn't a thing we sell as a service, but the laser cutter just allows us to do so much. Like, you saw the tool tags, right?
They're so fast.
It's cheap. Fast. It's really affordable. A sheet of material is $2. And we can get 8 sets of packaging out of that, and you pay dollars and dollars and dollars for one product.
Does it have Auto Z?
It does do Auto Z. I can't say how accurate it is, but I don't know. It's funny. It's like it's a CNC machine, but it's pretty basic.
It's practically an inkjet printer with a laser core.
We started to do a little bit of engraving. This is one of our newer products.
Oh, nice.
Where we're still learning the best ways to engrave. I think a fiber laser may be a better option, but
is this powder coated?
It is. Powder coated, all of it's designed in Fusion.
Nice.
We print the inserts on PETG with PETG, and then this is what you put a tool holder in. So often you're setting up a bunch of tools for any CNC machine somewhere, and it's not usually like at the machine. And these things are real hard to carry. Like, how do you do that?
And you can break the tips too.
They're sharp.
Get cut on
as
them.
well as it took a while when we first started out, but now I think it's common. You want to keep them set up because you measure them. That's part of what the tool tag is for. You measure the length, and so you just enter that in the machine rather than. And
that's all on your label.
Right. Measure it again.
And you've gone from mostly being a job shop, to you're focusing more on your own products now. How did that transition happen?
So I went to design school and bought a CNC router, put it in my garage to make products for myself for the knack brand we have. And needed to pay for it, because I wasn't immediately selling products, so I started up Portland CNC as a side project to try to make money, because I knew people locally. There wasn't a lot of, let's say, more creative uses of CNC routers in 2017 back then. There's a lot more people, I think, credit to Fusion, that have allowed people to more easily do like 3D machining. It just wasn't as common. And so we found definitely a niche of people that wanted weird stuff made on routers. And I just kept chasing that, because it's really hard to say no to people saying, I want to pay you for you to make this. And
was it a lot of like cool startup office kind of stuff, like office furniture, reception areas?
I mean, we have, right now we're making these for a local woodworker, chair legs out of solid walnut. And if you've ever tried to cut wood, it's completely different than metal in that there's grain, there's like that piece of material has a ton of issues with it and it won't turn out well likely. But it's the way I always describe for me how job shop work felt is it's like being a firefighter where every day is new. There's no consistency. You're constantly, in comparison to product, you're constantly reinventing yourself constantly. Whereas with a product, next time we make packaging for the tool or we're changing X, Y, or Z, it's getting better. It's under our control.
Instead of starting from zero every time.
So there's nothing, I mean, for me and our team, it's just, maybe I was never made ideally for the job shop world, but I know a lot of people do it very well and more power to them. I was always trending towards the products in the first place, so we just kind of got back to it eventually. It's the goal. And so we're happy about that. We still do job shop work, kind of the ideal situations where it fits the Venn diagram well. Theirs and ours.
Okay. So tell us about the saw stop and why it's so cool.
Just a lot of traditional wood tools. We don't actually have that many, but saw stop I think is just a necessity these days until the patent runs out, basically. But more or less, if something conductive comes in contact with the blade, it stops immediately. Sorry to jump around, but the joiner planer here, downsized from a larger separate machine. So this does jointing of wood, makes one side flat, and you kind of open it up.
And there's a planer
and there's
through
a planer that goes the other way. And so it...
Using the same tool.
Right. So it's a smaller footprint, less investment into the wood producing things because we just don't use it as much. We wanted more room for things like laser cutters and ideally someday, maybe a lathe or another mill, and it's like we don't do that much of the woodworking stuff as we used to. But you know, edge sander basically is just a big sander, and you can kind of tilt things to make it flat. And we do a decent amount of this is not what you'd use this for, but if you want to sand the edge of this, right, you can do that all and keep one edge pretty flat rather than having to hand sand something.
And then you've got bandsaw, router table.
Little router table that we use quite often, like these kind of parts, right? We leave them connected to the stock and then trim them down or round them over. And this is kind of a weird tool we built, but these tables can be pretty expensive, so we kind of just build our own.
And that's for dust collection.
The dust collection right here sucks down through the top. And all the tools, Ricky's kind of built them in down there. I think there's a lot of dust brushes down there too. So that connects to our dust system, and then kind of obsessive about dust collection here. I don't know, it's a carcinogen. It's just, we don't like it floating around.
Why breathe it?
Right. This is Ricky, he works here. He's worked here for a few years.
How's it going, Ricky? Jonathan, good to meet you.
Makes everything, sends everything out for us.
And so this is just a general work table. You've got hand tools over here.
Back to the story of, we did a lot of woodworking kind of things, and so it's a more traditional woodworking bench we made. Right behind it, all the tools you kind of want for that. So, you know, back to everything from you need to pound some chisels to more, power tools. And this has been the place we work on, and that new assembly area is going to take a lot of that, I think, as we move forwards. But the idea was always trying to think about the flow of the shop. It's like, we put all the kind of raw wood material in the back corner. We usually hit it with the CNC router, and it kind of works its way to be a finished thing out the door. So this is more of you need to trim it down, you need to, I don't know, at one point assemble stuff. Then there's just different tools related to how we make stuff. I like the glue sticks myself. Ricky's likes to organize
glue stick storage. Look at that. I love it.
Products that we used to make and are kind of in process.
We reuse
a lot of stuff. We use glue sticks to make our dust boots primarily.
And once again, lots of custom stuff. So this is all modular. You can kind of rearrange that however you want.
Just the traditional French cleat. I mean, they're kind of janky. I took these down from our old shop. I was meant to replace them, but there's strips all the way across, and so you can technically rearrange basically everything here. We haven't in a long time, so we kind of got it where we wanted, but this will pop off. Made a video about that forever ago.
So you're storing hand tools here, routers, drills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's nice about these kind of things is like we're evolving who we are, what we do, that things like French cleats, things on wheels, not super purpose-built things turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we can evolve them to be what we want them to be over time. All of our dust collection is kind of expensive. The ducting, it's called NordFab, but it's really nice in that you can unhook it and it just modularly like hooks back together. So like you want to move the tool down, well, just slide the duct back. So you spend more for it, but it's also like I'm not tearing it down and reassembling it in a kind of crunchy bad way again. We just moved this recently.
Yeah, central air and what you've got here and dust collection.
Right. Yeah.
That's like the hallmark of a pro shop.
Right. Sometimes I don't feel like that's the case, but yeah, it's we've done a lot of work to make it kind of really work for us.
Yeah, it shows too. I mean, like look how clean it is. You know, there's no dust all over the floor.
We cleaned up for you guys.
I'm sure you did. You know, but still, like there's usually in a shop there's, you know, crap stuffed in the corners and all. And,
well, I'll show you. We're both a little obsessive about that, but we also have a shop Roomba. Yeah. Which cleans up. It's shocking. We've had it almost a year now, maybe a little longer than a year, and it goes from, you know, kind of feeling that slick dust to like, it's just kind of gone.
It can actually handle shop dust.
It was just a whim. I was like, well, it's $200. If it's
generic
let's
too.
Try it. And I did you do the math, it's like one of us sweeping and kind of the cost rate of a shop, it's like, that goes pretty fast. And every morning we come in, it's finishing its little thing, it goes and dumps itself. And so it keeps it nice and clean for sure.
When we first met a week ago, I brought my 4-year-old son in here and I was excited to show him all the cool tools. He likes tools and stuff. He comes to the garage with me all the time. And the two things he cared about were the generic sweeper robot and your doorbell system.
Oh, he loved the doorbell. Can we do the doorbell again? So we kept picking up the little robot and putting it back down. I was like, it's just like a turtle. Just pick it up.
He was a little nervous about it at first, but
he got over that quick. All right. So we can go more towards more wood things. This is very not finished. This used to be where we kept the 3D printers, was over there.
Oh, okay.
It got moved. It got cut off in the back. Who knows, maybe this will turn into something completely different soon.
Sure. Hazmat storage here.
It's just coolant. I think this is all waste coolant at the moment. We just built this little thing so you could kind of, you know, when you need to go dump it, you got to palletize it. So we just put a little thing so we can drag it to the front and they suck it out.
What are these big braces up here?
Big brace. These guys?
Yeah.
Oh, that was like you go to like a maker event. I think that we took the knack wall to it. So I think that holds knack wall and we took it to like a winter show
before
we transitioned. So yeah, it's kind of I don't know why we still have it, but we do. I don't know how the hell we're gonna show this, but I think it's pretty cool. We made this in Fusion too. Yeah. Might have to sneak back here. Just a kind of parametric cabinet that holds all of our hardware.
Nice.
I mean, it's pretty basic, but we made the whole thing in Fusion, and you can go. I think I share it for a free download too. So
cool.
Over time, you just build up a lot of hardware, and you can buy a cabinet that's $2,000 like this. So this is a couple $100 and a few hinges.
And the QR codes, is that for an inventory system?
Yeah, it goes into it. We use Airtable as like I guess it's an ERP, but it's kind of a roll your own, make your own solution. So funny you asked that. I thought it was a brilliant idea, and they changed how the URLs worked. So now they don't go anywhere anymore. But I still love the idea that they would work.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Let's go look at the CNC router, I guess. So this is like our first big kid CNC machine. I had experience with very bad CNC machines in school, and I kind of knew what I didn't want, and some of those things were just more automation with being able to set tools or tool change without having to do it yourself. Yep. So this kind of solved a lot of it. It's a shop saver. We've thrown our name across it instead, but it's a really solidly built machine, and it's been really good for us. It's 8, 6, 7 years old now. Yeah, this is what we made everything on forever. And
5x10 work area?
It's 4x8, and then you get a little bit more width. So it's like almost 5 feet wide, which is a cool little feature that they have. It has a vacuum bed, which is pretty common with routers. So this is MDF, and the vacuum sucks through.
Yeah.
So then it keeps the sheet held in place while you machine it. Now I call it magic work holding because you don't do anything, you just flip a switch, and every other type of machining you got to like clamp it so it's ideally held. But you know, when it's on, it's fantastic. So
yeah. So you're vacuuming through your spoiler board.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can kind of cut. It's a weird little thing about routing is you kind of cut into the spoil board. You think about how wood works. It's a bunch of fibers, and it's not so much this plastic, but often you cut plywood. You typically have to cut past it so you don't blow it apart on one side or the other. And so you cut into the MDF, which also serves as weirdly a pass through. It's kind of like a sponge. And it lets air through. So it's pretty nifty. Just part of the upgrade of the system for us was the dust boot, which we'll be running here in a bit. We kind of have these swappable brushes, and you can put different lengths of plates on. And so when that's on there, it can drop over top, tool change, and pick up a different tool, which the machine is very capable. It didn't have, we added more tools, and then was offered, as well as just kind of improved the way that this worked with it, which was a problem originally. So.
And then one of the advantages of having a magnetic boot like that is that it's easy to take on and off, obviously, but also if you were to have a crash, it could come off the machine.
Somewhat of the crash, I think of it a lot as these little, we call them spacers, but sometimes you're making a giant dished thing and you want to be able to add more length to this, so you just throw in more spacers. And so the stack up allows you kind of
get more
magnetically
depth.
To add more depth to your dust collection. I mean, you can see probably some of the tools. We've got like a 3-inch depth length of cut over there with that guy. That'll be pretty sharp. Just a ball mill, but like, you imagine how long that sticks out of the machine, and then you're not doing any dust collection. So we like to think of it as like a tool, you know, hopefully you have a tool box of solutions for dust collection, whereas kind of traditionally you just have the one thing. It doesn't change. We're still working on different versions of it, but tried to offer some options for people that do different things than just cutting sheets.
Have you tried 3D printed spacers?
We did. It wouldn't fit on, I'm trying to think now. I don't know if we tried it on the bamboo, but it wouldn't fit on the Prusa.
Wouldn't fit on the Prusa,
too big for that. So we did try that. Yeah, we're probably gonna we need to cut some of these. This is the stuff we make dust boots out of.
The first time I came here, I was sure this was a spray booth, but we're gonna see that it's not.
Could be. Coming to the killer room. Going back to our obsession about clean air, this is a CNC mill, YCM NXV 560A. This produces lots of coolant and air and oil in the air. And so we built this little room, which we called it the Dexter room, because originally it was going to be like thin film. And we since upgraded it to like fancy coroplast. But it basically serves two purposes. It kind of helps stabilize thermally in the room. It keeps the oil, coolant, air in here, and the dust from the wood shop stuff out. They keep them separated. So it's a little tight, but it's actually worked out to be way better than I expected it to be. I thought there'd be issues I wouldn't foresee, and so far it's turned out to be pretty good. So
so 3-axis. It's got probing. You have looks like 21 tools in your cassette. 20
plus the bonus one on the spindle.
This would be a good time to explain the tag holder and how it relates to what's going on in the machine.
So you can't really see exactly, especially from the control, but over here there's a window, and that's where all the tools are stored. They have numbers, but they're pot numbers. So that doesn't mean a damn thing to most people. It's the tool number that you're calling as the operator is tied to the programming in Fusion. That's what 1 through 21 is for us. And so we keep a lot of them the same, but like you know, tool number 1 here is our face mill. And so those QR codes actually work, I think.
Good.
But all this dumps out onto a label printer, and then when we call up tool 1, it should be this tool. And part of that's when you're programming, you need to either take a tool out or put one in, and you got to know, instead of just sitting here and going, next tool, next, oh, I want to change that one. And half the time when you got a tool set up, it's like, do you know what that is? Is there a label? What if Ricky did it and he's not here? Like, how do I know what that is? So tags are not, we did not invent tags by any means. Like, these are some we buy.
But they're usually dry erased, and you touch them and the stuff comes off.
Can you read my handwriting? Because I can't.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Also, you can't read them when they're placed like that, whereas these you've got.
Yeah. I came up with the worst name for them, but I call them the edge view, which I don't know why. It's just, it was what came to mind. I was doing it quick, and I was like, it's kind of like one of those bad like developments of, like, you know, edge view where your suburban home is, but it tells you what it is, I guess. So we're still evolving with it. Like, you can make your own labels, obviously, and we're still trying to figure out. Sometimes the tool SKU is terrible. It's like, I don't know what that is. So we'll get there. But a lot of what we want them for is to denote what the tool is, tells you what's in the machine, but then also this gauge length number. We do have a tool setter, but it's just faster and safer, I guess, to just type the number in. Like, instead of measuring it again, because it's a 2015 machine, so it's not as user-friendly as you would want it to be. So for me, typing in 6 numbers is fast and reliable. I don't know with this audience, but we can try it.
No, anything you want to talk about.
We've got these tilt carts that everybody loves. We love them. They're super useful. They basically turn, these tilt carts basically turn like every job of moving material into a one-person job. So let's see, which way does it go? This is a big table we have to engrave and cut down for a client. And I'd say there's 300 pounds worth of wood here. But what's great is, this is kind of an older version, but they pump up. Well, it's supposed to. Maybe it's all the way up. And then I can just tilt it up myself. This one's kind of heavy. And then it locks down so that you can move it around and typically slide it right onto the CNC machine. So usually we'll team lift onto the carts, and then you don't need 2 people sitting around to load this anymore because it's just the same level. I've been kind of scouting the region, as well as I think that red one came from eBay somewhere in Ohio, because I just love them. So this is what I was saying, why we have a forklift, is we used to hand unload onto these. And it just does a lot when you do a lot of material at once, sometimes 80 sheets of a job, and you don't want to move that yourself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're super useful, and every time I've shared them, people are like, where do you get those? And I was like, it took me a while to find them. But that was my kitchen at one point in the pandemic, and then we were afraid material was going to all disappear. And
it was hard to find Baltic birch.
Yes, and so we ended up changing what we were doing with the kitchen, and so now we just have, you know, storage of materials back here. Everything up here is basically like new or ready to be used. It's never been touched. And then back here, which is a little bit buried under our recycling of plastic parts, is like stuff that's been used at one point, or it has a partial, and it's pretty well organized. These carts pull out if we weren't in the way, and there's a bunch of like kind of organized scrap, so you can kind of always see. Well, we followed the Adam Savage first order retrieval, so you shouldn't have to move something to get to something. It doesn't always work. I mean, we've got a cart in the way, but
I mean, close enough. This is the most organized scrap bin I've ever seen.
It used to be really bad. We had one of our carts like fall over in the last shop because too much material was leaning against it. Like, dumped the tools everywhere.
So you said never again.
Like, this needs to happen. So this is like the first thing we built here, and it's served us pretty well.
Well, thanks for the tour. Super cool. You've got a lot of really interesting stuff going on. I love the creative solutions to things, and you can see how those ideas and that way of working kind of makes its way into your products.
Thanks.
You're inspiring me to spend a lot more money on my own shop. So.
Well, sure. Yeah, why not?
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Right.
Hey, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all things Shop Talk. If you're ready to try Fusion through yourself, find the link in our description.